In this video, I'm going to show you the new and optimized way of creating CrewAI agents. And on top of that, I'm going to show you how you can add an observability layer on top of these agents. That way you're able to see what's actually happening under the hood with these agents. So with that, let's just jump straight into it. When I'm creating content, I find myself doing research on people that have kind of created similar content to what I'm trying to create. What I usually try to do is I go to the comments after watching the video, because I think the gold mine is actually in the comments. If you're a content creator, you should always go check the comments of competitor videos, and the viewers there will tell you the truth on what they liked, what they didn't like about it, also what they would have liked the video to cover, or what things should be covered next. So I usually go there, find some good snippets, find some good, amazing feedback, and try to incorporate that into my videos or in my next video that kind of is similar. That was a very manual process, and so it took me about 15 to 20 minutes to just go through the comments of one video, especially if it's a very good video that a lot of people left a lot of comments. At that point, I realized I could just use agents to do that work for me, because it's a very small task that could be automated. So why not, right? This is what I'm building for this tutorial, actually. So for this tutorial, I have 3 agents up here, as you can see on this architecture diagram. So I have a fetch comments agent. I have an inside analyst, and then finally a report writer. This first comments agent, what it does is it uses a custom tool, which I built, and also it's part of the CrewAI. I'll show you how to set it up pretty shortly. So this custom YouTube tool, it goes and fetches comments for any given. So you pass it and you give the agent a URL. It just extracts the ID portion of that YouTube URL and uses that combination with the YouTube data API to fetch comments for that specific video ID. Once it fetches those comments, it saves the comments in a comments.md file. Then after it fetches those comments, it passes it over to the insights analyst. And then it goes through all the comments, figures out, okay, what are the interesting things here that I should be able to pass it on to the report writer, who then finally writes an entire report that I'm able to just read really fast and figure out, okay, this is what the viewers in this video are asking for. This is what they didn't like about it in this video. This is what they expect. So that way it kind of informs me on what things I should focus on when creating my content, so that the viewers get a better quality content in this case. This is just a simple architecture, and we're going to go dig deeper into how to build this. But the important thing as well is I'll be showing you the new and updated way of doing this with CrewAI. And down here, as you can see, CrewAI, of course, is what we'll be using as our agentic framework in this case. And then AgentOps, which I haven't talked about. I think I mentioned it in the intro, which is the observability. It gives you an inside look into what the agents are actually doing underneath. And another thing here that we'll be testing as well is Ollama. So as always, as you know, I try to find free ways to use it. So we'll be testing with Groq as well. Now that we understand the architecture diagram, let's switch over to the code, and let's start with, first of all, setting up CrewAI the new way. So the first thing you want to do once you're in your terminal is install CrewAI. So we'll do pip install CrewAI. The next thing we want to do is use the new scaffolding method. It's very easy. It sets up all your files that you will need, and all you have to do is just really edit them. And it's CrewAI create. Let me name it as YouTubeYapperTrapper. It traps the yaps. Let's name it that way. It's going to start creating the scaffolding right now, and you'll see it. All those folders that we will need to be able to run the crew. Let's navigate to that and open that folder. Let's walk through each of the directories, and I usually like doing this because it's always good to see what's on the directory side of things first before you even start coding. So in this case, let's see what this scaffolding contains. First of all, it starts with our source file here, and within the source folder, there's the YapperTrapper agents that I've already created. And now under the config file, there's agents.yaml and tasks.yaml. And this is actually a new way using CrewAI, where it kind of abstracts the things that you usually include in your main folder. What do you usually have in your main file? You add these things like role, goal, and backstory. So these were things that you would have to bake into the main code of what you used to do. But now this is abstracted away by using YAML files, which I think is a really cool way of abstracting things away. So that way it's easy to edit. So if I needed to edit some specific things, I don't have to go to the code. I could just come edit the .yaml file and then save it, and it's going to be parsed into the agent, and it's going to check in the new updates. That's the agents one, and this is the tasks, and this is just a boilerplate of what it gives us. I'll be copying code and putting it in here, so that way we can see how it works pretty shortly here. And then the next part here, we have a tools folder. There's a custom tools.py file here, and this is where you create create your custom tool. In my case, I will need a custom tool because my agent will be using the YouTube data version 2 API to grab the comments of any given YouTube video. This is the crew.py file, and inside the crew.py file, this is where you create your agents. This is where you instantiate your agents, and there's new decorators now within CrewAI. There's CrewBase, which is the class that kind of handles all the agents and tasks. And so there's also agent decorator just to show that's an agent, and then there's also a task decorator as well. So that's for decorating the tasks. And also finally, a crew decorator that decorates all the crew together combined. Now that we have that done, let's go to the main file, which is kind of usually the one that kind of runs all the programs within your code base. And so here it says run, and you have to pass in an input. There's also a folder here for tests. So if you're trying to push this to production, you definitely need tests. And then there's the .env file here. This is where you save all your environment variables. These are the secrets actually. And then the git ignore, of course, this is where you put all the files that you don't need to commit to GitHub. PyProject, this is also another interesting thing. I hadn't used Poerty myself until I started working on this project. So it was a good learning curve, but it seems pretty easy to implement. I'll show you what I've learned so far to make it work the way I want to do it. Finally, you have the README that's auto-generated as well for you, which is really cool because then it provides you all the steps that are kind of hard-coded to your project. So if you always struggle with READMEs, this is a good time because it does it for you a little bit. Then all you have to do is just customize it a little bit if you need to. That wraps up the directory overview. Now let's get to coding. Also following the same order, we'll start with the config file. I already have this code, but everything really generated, so I don't want to code here real time. So I'm just going to copy all the stuff that I've done on the other side and just kind of paste it in here. So we'll paste in here all the agents that I have. And these agents are the ones that we've talked about here. There's 3 agents. So I have the comment fetcher and the role. I give them the role is a senior YouTube comments fetcher for tech videos. You can name it really whatever you want. You have to be really explicit with some of this stuff. So fetch all comments from specified YouTube video links. The backstory for it. Also, just so you're aware, as you can see some of this stuff here, it sounds like AI generated, right? Chat with CrewAI docs. So what I did, I just pasted what I wanted that agent to do, and it did generate a bit of all this text that you're seeing here. Insights analyst here, their role is tech insights analyst. Again, you can name that whatever you want. And then the goal is generate and synthesize insights from YouTube comments on tech videos. So, and then here backstory is their sharp-witted analyst, passion for tech sector, skilled in navigating through noise. And one thing also that you might want to keep in mind is for you to know which ID you want it to run. So I put this in brackets video ID, and you'll see that this is what we will pass as inputs when we get to the main file. So essentially this video ID here is what they will need to use to grab the YouTube video comments. And so this is just passing it explicitly there for them to remember so they don't forget, because they sometimes tend to forget, of course, like we all do sometimes, right? And then finally, the report writer here, their role is tech report writer, and the goal is write comprehensive reports, of course, of on synthesized insights from this video ID. Your skill communicator specializing in tech industry, blah, 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 blah. And so the agents are saved. Now let's go to task.yaml. Again, this is what we are referencing, just so you're aware. So fetch comments task, analyze insights task, and then generate report task. And so for fetch comments task, remember, we also have to save this comments to .md file. The description here is retrieve all comments from this YouTube video ID, and also ensure you've extracted all viewer comments from this video ID. A JSON format list of all retrieved comments, each entry representing a single comment. This is the expected output as well for this agent. The insight task, it's supposed to analyze comments retrieved for actionable insight from the comments as well. And then the expected out JSON list of key insights, categorize themes, and then also categorize them by themes like requests, complaints, suggestions, and other relevant ones they find useful. So I'm giving them some room there to be able to decide what's actually important for me to know from the comments. And so it's going to generate requests that people are requesting, complaints, suggestions, and any other things that I want to be aware when I'm creating my new content. And then reporting, finally, it just kind of takes all these aggregated insights from this and then creates a really full-fledged report for me to be able to digest. The next part now is tools. Let's create a tool that the fetch comment agent is going to use to call the API to be able to get the comments for any given video. We're importing the base tool here, and we're using that here within the class that we'll be building. The name of this tool is a YouTube comments fetcher tool, and the description is fetches all the comments from a specified YouTube video URL using the YouTube data API. So we're creating a comments variable here with a list, empty list, that we'll be able to pass in the comments there. Once they fetch, it just kind of gets stored in there temporarily. And then the page token here, it's blank for now. The reason why I'm doing that is because the YouTube API, which is this API right here, v3 comments thread, it only allows you to retrieve 100 comments at a time. So if your video has like over 100 comments on it, it's not going to retrieve all of them in one API call. So it's going to get the first 100, and after each 100, at the end, it's going to have a page token. It could be like a number. It could be, for example, a number like 9 I don't know, 501. And you need that to be able to call the API again with that number to show that, okay, it's more like telling the API there's more. So here's the token. It looks good. Go back and grab the next ones. So if it's maybe like 300, for example, you can have a first token for the 100, another token for the 200, and then you're not going to have another token after that just because it knows that this is the end page, so there's no more tokens. I have a self-validate video ID first. So when you pass in the URL, so I wanted to be able to validate that video ID that is going to extract from that URL. And that video ID is just checking to see, and that I have that function here that does that validation, right? So here, validate video ID. And so it's also another YouTube API. And all it's doing is just getting the ID that's you passed in and make sure that that video ID is valid. The next part here we're doing is while that is true, while the video ID is good to go, we also want to be able to pass in the YouTube API key. Video ID, of course, we're passing it in. Max results is 100, and this is the max you can actually pass in there. And then we have the page token. If there's a page token, it's just going to put it in there. And then it's going to, of course, if it keep rerunning it, it's going to rerun it until the page token, there's no more page tokens. And here we're just getting the response back from the API. And if the response from the API is good to go, which is data score 200, save that data in a data variable in a JSON format. And then it's going to iterate through it and append each comment over into our comments variable up here that we had already instantiated. So it's going to save it in there on each comment. And then it's just going to return that. And if there's an error, it's just going to show there's an error if that doesn't work. If there's no page token at the end of the last page, maybe the comments are done, it's just going to break. If the status code from the API is not 200, which means something failed, it's just going to show the error here. And all the error codes here as well. I have the handle API error here as well function. It details all the possible error codes that could happen in this process. But I wanted to list it out specifically so that way the agent can know exactly what caused it to happen and communicate back to me so that I know exactly what caused it to fail so I can correct it. The next part now is the crew. So the crew part is where we instantiate all the crews now. We create the agents and also the task, try to orchestrate them now. In this page now with the crew.py, first of all, we're importing the tool that we just created up here, which is that custom tool. Our agents will need that. And then from CrewAI, we're importing all the necessary stuff that we need, which is agents, crew, process, and task. And then CrewAI project, we're importing all of them as well. And then here, something cool as well, we're importing LangChain, Chat OpenAI, and we'll use that when we are running the agents using Ollama models. And also I'm importing LangChain Groq. And this is chat Groq. This is when we'll use this when we are using the Groq model for the agents to use to interact here. Finally here, the observability part that I mentioned earlier, which is using AgentOps. And we'll get deeper a little bit on this when we start going here. And so the AgentOps portion here as well, we're importing AgentOps as well. And it's very easy to set up AgentOps. It's very automatic in this way. So all you have to do is import AgentOps. Of course, you have to install it first and then import it. And then initialize it, agentops.init, and it's going to automatically track all your agents, so you don't have to do anything else. And if you want to be a little bit granular with letting AgentOps track your agent, you can also track agent name here. And so you can put track agent, and then the name, you put the name of the agent on top of each agent. What we're doing first is we're gathering all the YAML files that we already created up here for agents and tasks. So for agents config, we're grabbing the agents and then tasks as well. We're instantiating the LLMs. So for Groq, we're just saying self Groq LLM, and then chat Groq, we're using that. We're setting the temperature to 0. We don't want it to be super creative here because the higher the number, that means it's more creative. Use the data that we've already given you, which is the YouTube comments. So don't make up anything. We just want you to use those ones and provide us insight based just on those. Groq API key, which is grabbing the API key from the .env file here. And we haven't added that yet. We'll add those in here shortly. The model name that we'll be using here, I'm using Llama 3, which is the new model. I'm using the 70B. You can use whatever one you want here. We also instantiate here Ollama, and then I have Ollama LLM, Chat OpenAI. And in this case, I'm passing Mistral as the model, also just passing in the base URL and the API key. Yeah, this is just really, you can put something random. It's required to have something in here, but it's not going to be used. It doesn't have an API key. We're also setting the temperature to 0 on this one as well. We have the track agent, right? And I mentioned to you, this is the one AgentOps will use to track this specific agent. When we get to the dashboard later on, we'll see, we can pick by even the agent and see what that agent specifically did. And this is what we're doing. So we're doing that for all the agents. We're doing that for track insights agent. And then also we're tracking report writer agent. We're also having the decorator as agent here. And then agent responsible for fetching YouTube comments. Very simple, right? So all we're doing config, we're getting the config, which we've already imported from our YAML file here. So this is the agent config file, and that's our agent. We're putting that here as comment fetcher. And then the tools, it's going to be that YouTube comments tool that we just built in here to call the YouTube API. And then allow delegation, we're telling it full. So we don't want it to delegate any task to anybody else because that's his job. It's just going to do its job Nobody else can do its job. And then here LLM, we've instantiated using Ollama LLM, but in this case, I want to use Groq first because Groq is a little bit faster. It will allow us to do things a little bit faster. So let's do that first. And then we'll test Ollama as well. Verbose true, that means we just wanted to print out everything that it's doing. For track agent, for this next agent, insight analyst, we are tracking this insights analyst. And then again, we're instantiating it at decorator for agent. And what it's doing is agent responsible for analyzing comments and generating insights. We're also returning an agent here and the config file as well. It's insights analyst. We're just passing that to him and then, or her, or it. And then LLM here as well, Ollama, I just want to change that to Groq as well. Delegation again, false, verbose true on this one. And then the last agent here, track agent name, report writer, agent, report writer. Again, it's just supposed to write a detailed report and analysis. And so agent again, doing the same instantiation. I'm just going to change this again to Groq. And now to the tasks. So for the tasks again here, what we're doing is fetch comment task. We're starting with the first comment task. And again, we're just passing in that config for task comment search and right here. So this task config, we're just passing that now to fetch comment tasks. Agent that it's going to be responsible for doing this is also the comment fetcher, passing that in. And then the output file, what I mentioned earlier, that it's supposed to grab all the comments, put it in a .md file, which is called .comments.md, and also pass these comments to the next agent. And now let's go to analyze insights tasks, analyze comments and generate insights. We also given it the task.yaml file, and then the agent is insight analyst that is responsible for this role. And then also human input, very interesting part about CrewAI as well. As the insights are being generated, it will show you exactly what it's generated, or like a preliminary report of what it's generated, what it thinks it's going to give you. And it will pause, first of all, before it passes that to the report writer. And it will ask, do you have any feedback? And you'll read through it. If you have any feedback, maybe that report doesn't sound good to you, or you want something tweaked, you can just tell it, this doesn't look good. I want you to change this and that. And it's going to self-autocorrect in this case. Generate report task to generate the final report. And again, we're passing in that config, report writer, who is the agent that's going to be in charge of this role. And then the output file is report.md, which is the final report that I'm going to be able to use to read and create more content, right? Better content in this case. We're just putting everything together now. We've instantiated the agents, we've the tasks, we're just putting all the tasks in a list here. And then the process, we're doing sequential. And sequential, what it means basically here is this has to run first, and then the next one has to run, and then the final one has to run. So you can run them parallel because this depends on this, and this depends on this. So they're all very interdependent. So the comments have to be there first before the insight analyst analyzes the insights. And then the insights have to be there before the report writer writes the final report. We have also memory, which I set false. There's so many other parameters you can pass in here, but in my case, I put it as false. I don't want it to retain any memory here. And then the max RPM here, and this is really throttling it. So you can do 1 or 2. We also have verbose to 2. Verbose just kind of printing out everything on the screen as well. So this is our main file. And what we're doing here, first of all, we're importing all the YouTube comments crew, which we created here, .env, loading the secrets, which are the API keys that we'll put in here after we finish going through this code right here. And then also we are instantiating AgentOps.init. And so import AgentOps and then AgentOps init. And so we have this extract video ID function here. And what it does, it takes in a URL and it's going to use regex to be able to extract just the video ID out of that URL. And this is what I mean by video ID in a URL. So on a YouTube URL, you have this URL. And then at the end here, you have mostly the video ID. All we're doing is the YouTube API will need that video ID only. It doesn't need the full URL, just a video ID. It's going to need that to be able to generate, to grab the comments for that specific video. And so all we're doing is we're extracting that video ID from the URL, and it could be a URL that's, normal, shortened, or embedded video ID. Once we've extracted that video ID here, it's going to take in here as an input. You have a dictionary here where you're going to pass in your input here. So in this case, it's just the video ID here. And now we're going to create a crew, which is from the crew that we already imported up here, YouTube comments crew. The result here, we're just going to do a kickoff of the crew, entire crew, and then we're going to pass in the input that we already have here into this agents to kick off. And it's going to do its thing. And finally, when it's done, it's just going to print all the results here on the REPL as well. Now we go to the cool part as well, which is using API keys now. So this is where we save the API keys. It's under your .env file here. Since we're not going to be using OpenAI because we're very cheap, we try not to pay for nothing, we're going to delete that. And don't worry, I know somebody's going to in the comments will tell me about how I need to delete all these API keys after I use. Yes, I'm going to delete this before this video goes up. These are the API keys that I'm going to be using. There's one here for AgentOps. You're going to need one from AgentOps. It's free for now. So everything that I'm trying to show you is pretty free at this time. If anything changes, you'll definitely find out when you get to their website. The important thing is you can get started with AgentOps for free. If you click that, you're able to then come in. Once you log in, you're able to come in and find your API keys very easily here. So if you come to to settings, you're able to come to your keys and secret, and you're able to create your API key here. And you can also delete it or revoke it if you wanted to. So for YouTube as well, it's a very easy process that you can look at YouTube data API, and then it will show you exactly where you can go find your API key and be able to load it in and be able to use it. So I don't want to get into that because it's going to make this video way longer than it should be. If you're still struggling with setting up the YouTube portion part of it, just let me know in the comments and I'll try to help you out as much or give you pointers how you can do that. Now this part is set up, let's save the .env file and let's get to the point where we actually run this code and get to see what it outputs. And also keep in mind that we passed in the Groq, which is the Llama 3 using Groq, and that's what we're using here. I need to set up the environment first, which I didn't. So let's go ahead and create a Python virtual environment here real quick. And as you can see, now that we have a virtual environment, we are getting a bunch of errors here that we need to import a bunch of stuff here. So we need to get that set up. PyProject.toml here, which is for Poerty. And you can see that some of the stuff that have already been installed here or things that we need to install. There's a CrewAI here with extra and tools version there. And then this is our project right here. So the first thing we will need to do is install Poerty. If you're still feeling lost, you go to your README, you'll see exactly what you need to do here as well. So we don't want to do lock first because we're missing AgentOps, LangChain, Groq as well, and some stuff here to get started. So we'll do Poerty, LangChain, Groq because we're missing that. And also we're missing AgentOps. We should see them getting added here shortly once you do add. It's been added in here. So you can see there's CrewAI that's been added, LangChain has been added, and then AgentOps has been added. Now that's done. The next thing you want to do is lock the dependencies. So we do Poerty lock. I'm just copying it from the README, and then we'll do Poerty install when that is complete to install our dependencies. For us to run this, we need a YouTube URL, right? Let's see videos about CrewAI because there's so many of them that have been done before. I'm trying to find a medium-sized one. So this one was a recent one by Matthew Berman. All right, so we're going to grab this URL for Matthew Berman, and it has 276 comments. So that's quite a lot, actually. Let's go over to our terminal and run Poerty run, and then we just need to name it YouTubeYapperTrapper. Then we tell it run. So it's going to kick off and ask us to input the URL, which should be coming up pretty shortly here. Cool. So we paste it in there and hit run. And now the agent fetch comments is going to start fetching the comments. And there it is. It's just fetched all the comments real fast. While we're waiting for it to pass these comments to the agent and create the comments.md file, let's go up here and see some of the output that's happened here. But now here, AgentOps has given us a URL that we'll need to go to their dashboard and be able to see what's happening with our agents that we just created. This is the dashboard. As you can see, this is a session drill down. We're drilling down to this session that we're running. And so right now, nothing is happening. While that's going, let's go back and go over the AgentOps platform. So AgentOps essentially is an observability platform, like I mentioned earlier. It gives you insights into what's happening with your agents. It also gives you your run environment, which is the name of my system here. Here are the agents. So we have an error here, and it says rate limit reached, error code 429 with our Groq API here. This is very common, especially if you have a lot of comments and it has to like parse through all of them and be able to get insights from all of them. So it's going to hit that rate limiting with the tokens. But for now, I'm just going to need to pick another YouTube video that's maybe doesn't have a lot of comments. And in this case, I'll just use mine, right? Because I don't think mine has like a lot of comments. So let's go to this one. And this one has 150 comments. This should be good, right? So let's use this instead. Let's go here and rerun this program again. It seems like it have gone through. So I tried using the same input. I might stop. So you can see here, it's just saying, hey, I need to fetch all comments from the specified video ID. And it shows the video ID that it extracted from that URL. And then thought, and now we have another error. Debug, working agent, tech insight analyst, starting task, analyze comments you received, generate actionable insight. So it passed those comments to the insight analyst. But now we're getting another rate limit. Now let me even use a much smaller YouTube video that has very less YouTube comments. I have 41 comments, so you better work on this one. Let's try this one. This should be small enough that it should pass, you would think. So let's see. So that went by fast, so I'm guessing this is good. And it already passed all the comments over to the tech insight analyst agent, and the insight analyst agent is saying, here it is. So I think we're good. So it did gather all the comments, and showing, all right. And here you're saying task, analyze the comments, blah, blah, blah. What exactly I told it earlier what to do. And then so it's entering here. This is the agent's final answer. Here's the JSON formatted list of insights, of key insight characterized by themes. And here's the human input that I mentioned earlier. So it says, please provide a feedback. So in my case here, I'm just saying, looks good to go. All right. So now that I've told it, I've given it feedback, I told it looks good to go. It's going to get all this insights and pass it over to the report writer, and the report writer is going to generate a report for us. If I had an issue with it, I would have stated there, hey, maybe restate this word this way or do this or fetch more insight. And maybe you could have done another iterative work there to fetch maybe better insights. It's already passed it to the tech report writer, and it's generating a report. And here's the final report now. So we have the comments first. So if you see here, Let's just take this down. So these are the comments that it retrieved for this video. This is the full report now that it generated. So here it's just saying production, this report provides a comprehensive analysis of the comments for this video. And it's also giving that video there for me to reference if I have this report and I forgot what video it was. Following requests were made by viewers. Combine this video with previous video on local PDF. So excellent, possibly in future. And then add a PDF uploader that can learn from documents. This makes offline models. Okay, so these are actual comments. The insight and the actual comment. There's a claim and a proof. And then complaints. One complaint was made by a viewer and it says emojis are unnecessary. That's funny. Yeah. This is somebody that I ended up chatting a little bit and he said, I appreciate the video, but emojis don't make anything cool. Haha. Yes, it doesn't make anything cool unless it's mine, right? Anyway, but this was a Streamlit in relation to a Streamlit app that I created. And this Streamlit app, basically, I added Notion emojis that made the app look a little bit cooler, in my opinion, at the top. And then there's a title. And the person jokingly said this. He didn't actually mean it that, it doesn't make anything cool. He just meant like, hey, it doesn't make it cool. It was more funny. And you can see the interaction as well on it. So that was pretty cool that it did catch on that. And then suggestions, show people how to use Conda and provide sample connects in Git. Yeah, pretty good. And it cited that, and that's correct. And I'm saying that because I've read those comments and I responded to them, so I know exactly it's stating something that's wrong. So these are exactly the comments. I don't want to read through all this, but you can see this is like pretty cool. Like this is good insights. I didn't have to spend 20 minutes reading through a YouTube video, right? All I did was go find that YouTube video, get the URL, paste it in there, boom, it did a good report here for me. And I can save these reports somewhere that I can reference when I'm creating that video eventually. So if I have like 6 videos that I'm trying to reference, I can just grab all those YouTube videos, paste them in, let it run through it real fast, generate a report, save it somewhere while I'm doing something else, right? And that's the key thing. It's agents. I'm supposed to be doing something else and not worrying about this. All right, so on the AgentOps platform, I'm just going to show you what I ran earlier and a few days ago as well. Here, the cost, there's a 0.30 cost. I use GPT-4 here, which is the default for CrewAI. So if you don't add your LLMs like we did with adding Groq and Ollama as well, it will just default to GPT-4 if you don't add any models there. And it's going to ask you for your OpenAI API key to put it in environment. And here's the average cost per session. So that's how much is costing you per session of agents running. And so here's showing you kind of like all the end session reasons. So that was 429 for the rate limiting, and then signal agent detected. That was more of like if you hit Control C and kind of like cancel the process running. Yeah, these are just some of like the debugging errors that I was getting here early on. And so let's go ahead and now run using Ollama. Since we've run through here using Groq and we saw how fast it was. It did run pretty fast. Other than the rate limiting, it seems like everything is good. So all I'm going to do here, I'm just going to change all the LLMs that I'm passing to the agents here to Ollama. I've changed all of them to Ollama. I'm going to hit save. And for Ollama, we're using Mistral. Found another video that I have created as well. Let's use this one. This one has 27 comments. Let's grab that one in this case. Because I also noticed that it takes quite a while for the Ollama models to run on the system because, of course, there's a lot of things that's competing here for memory. Mistral is going to be taken over. And here's the AgentOps link that we're getting as well. You can see there's 2 events running. And here you can see it's pretty cool because we have the 2 events. So one count, it ran for 4 to 5 seconds here. Call summary, you can see here, it's first of all starting with the user. And this is what it passed in as the user prompt. Your senior comments fetcher, blah, blah, blah. This is what you need to do. Basically the instructions. And then the assistant said, which is the agent, I need to retrieve all comments from the YouTube video specified. So it did find an invalid syntax with an escape character. That's causing the problem there. I don't have time to go fix that portion as well. So let's find another video. Tech team has 88 comments. It should work since this is Ollama anyway. So let's copy tech team's video here, video ID, and just pass that to our agents, passing that URL. This time it should work. And I'm glad I'm getting all these errors. So you, as you're watching this and you're building, you're like, okay, at least it's not like a clean tutorial where everything just magically works, right? I never hit any errors. So if you hit these errors as well, at least you can see how I kind of troubleshoot it and work through some of this stuff myself. So we should not get rate limited on this one because we're running on Ollama. While that is running, let's go ahead and go to that drill down session. It's already finished the first process, which it only ran 1 count so far, which was just passing that video ID, which it grabbed that from that. And you can see that's the one process it ran. It's Mistral again. And these are the results that it's, this is the composition call that's happening right now. And so while we wait for that, let's refresh the page again. And let's even do a drill down on the agent. So we do the first agent here is the comment fetch agent. And you can see this is the one that's done the most work right at the moment. All right, so everything is running so far. It's just going to take a long time. Like I mentioned, Ollama models are pretty slow at this point, and it's very dependent on your system as well, mostly. So my system right now is not super optimized. I don't have a GPU. Everything is running just on my CPU, and it's probably why it's slow. So we're just going to take a minute. I'm going to cut to where everything is run through and it's good to go. All right, so it's already finished to the portion where we are at the Tech Insight Analyst. And so the Tech Insight Analyst has generated some themes here, and we have the request here, and it seems clear instructions on installation usage, and then request examples, templates for processing data, troubleshooting help with specific errors, and then complaints, complexity of setup and usage, and lack of documentation resources, slow response times with Ollama, and this is reference to Tim's video, maybe based on the comments here, and then suggestions, integration with popular IDEs or text editors here, and the creation of community forum or support group, and then the person saying a community forum or support group where users can ask questions and share solutions would be really helpful. And popular tech queries here, we have differences between Llama Index, Ollama, Multi, LLM, and then the queries there. So feedback here, I don't see a section for praise. So let's ask it to add, can you add a section on praise? I think it was mentioned as theme. All right, let's see if it's going to take that input feedback that I've given it and execute on it and provide that section for us. So it's a good test for it. But as you can see already from what it's doing here, I mean, it's good, but it's not quality like the GPT-4 or Llama 3 that we ran earlier with Groq. I mean, it's okay. It's not bad. All right, so it seems it has added that feedback and created the praise section. So thoughts here, as it said, I have reviewed the feedback provided and come to the conclusion that adding a praises theme would be valuable, as there were several comments expressing appreciation for different aspects of the video or the tools discussed. Now let's go see those praises that it's generated. So here it says praises, theme, praises, sub-themes, praises. Here it says appreciation for the clear explanation of concepts. It says, I really enjoyed this video and found the explanation of Llama Index or Llama Multi LLM to be very clear. And then here, positive feedback on the presentation style. The presenter did an excellent job explaining these tools. I learned a lot. Boom. So you can see that it did a pretty good job of taking that feedback. Now let's see if it's already passed that to the report writer. Now that is the next step now here. It's passing that to the report writer. Again, I'm just going to fast forward here to the point where the report writer has generated a report. Also, while the report writer is doing its job of writing, let's come here and review the steps of what's happened so far. So here on AgentOps, you can see there's already a number of events and no errors so far, which is amazing. That's what you want to see at all times. So if you come here on the event distribution, you have all these different of runs, which is 5 runs, and then the event types, which is LLM 5 count, and then repeat thoughts. And then these are the thoughts that have been repeated throughout the entire process here. So, and this is the full chat, which we've already seen in the REPL when it's running, and we've been reviewing that as well. So this is the entire conversation here that's happening. And as you can see, this is where I gave it the feedback, and it went ahead and generated that feedback and generated better content, right? And so here you can see the first replay. If you see session replay, so this was the first session here it generated, and you can, once you click on it here, you are able to see it here exactly what was going on. And of course the model is still Mistral, and so it's showing you exactly what happened there. And then if you come to the next step here, it's showing you the next portion of what happened. It fetched all the comments there, and then we see here it kind of reviewing it and sending that over, and then finally getting that over to the Insight Analyst, and now to the report writer here in this case, who's kind of generating the report right now. So that one is still going. You can refresh again, it's still 5. So let's go to the report and see if the report is ready. All right, the report writer has finished writing the report, and you can see here report Tech Insight, and these are the results. It's already generated a report, and it's printed out here on the screen, and it's also saved it as a markdown file as a final report. One thing you can see here from AgentOps, we're getting this run cost $0. This is the report that is generated now. So we have the request here, clear instruction, installation, and usage, and exactly it's tagging the exact citation of where that comment relates to that insight is generated. So you can see examples of templates, processing, and all this right here. And so there's complaints, and you can see the complaints here, complexity setup and usage, all that stuff, link to documentation resources. And then there's suggestions here as well, so showing the suggestion there. And then the praises, which we did ask for it to be able to add that as feedback. It's showing you the feedback here, praises that he got from the comments, and then the popular tech queries, it's showing you that here as well. So this looks pretty good, although it's not like as detailed as want it to be, because then it should have like a conclusion here with like a full list of summary. But I don't think I was super explicit about that in our YAML file. So that's something else that I also want you to note. Be very explicit when you're writing this YAML files. Be very explicit. Tell it exactly what you want it to do. Otherwise, it's just going to generate some random stuff for you. And if you don't provide it exact feedback, then it won't do that. Let's do a quick test here of using, and we can just use the same video ID I think, the video URL. Yeah, so let's use the same video URL just to test it out as well. And so it's going to start here. The agent is starting, of course. Now we have Llama 3 running this, and Llama 3 is trying to do the exact same thing that Mistral did. So we're going to compare the output here and see if it's going to do a better job in terms of the content itself, if it sounds good, if it sounds like it synthesized the information better than Mistral. And this is just a good benchmark for the same exact same report, and see how that does. And so I'm just going to skip this video to the point where it's already completed this, so we can do a comparison of this. Now, this is the output we're getting from Llama 3 learning locally on Ollama, and this is the report that it generated. And so, like we went through earlier, it does look the same really, and the formatting is not as the best as Mistral did, in my opinion. You can see it did some just decent work, just like the other one really. So there's no much difference here. So I also want to bring to your attention that CrewAI now has CrewAI Plus, which essentially allows you to turn any crew that you've created and uploaded to GitHub into an API within seconds. So you can connect to your apps using webhooks, REST APIs, gRPC, and more. And recently I got access to it, and this is what my account looks like. When you log on, you'll see your account looking like this as well. And the first thing you would do then is connect your GitHub to your CrewAI account. And your GitHub repository is where you have your crew already. And this is all my GitHub repositories. I gave it access to all my GitHub repositories. So you can also change that into just giving access to one specific GitHub repo account. And in my case, I created this example crew, which I then deployed here as well. And as you can see, the deployment here, I have a URL, which I can use to call it, and a bearer token, which I can use to interact with this crew agent and pass them an input, and then they're able to process in the background and give me a result. And so if you come here to crew info, there's a status here showing you the crew is online, and then the URL, of course, and then the date you deploy the crew as well, and the bearer token that you'll need to be able to call that API. And also you're passing in your variables, which we used during the development here, or in our demo as well. We have the AgentOps API key, Groq API key, YouTube API key, and you can load in bulk APIs just this way, or individual ones as well. Once you're done with that, you would then deploy them, and it would look like this when you get to it. You can delete it, you can reset it. So I won't go over this today, but I'll create another video that specializes specific on this. And so stay tuned for that. That's all I wanted to showcase there. And just keep in mind, all this code that I've used to create this crew, which is all this, I'm going to load them to GitHub. If you want to kind of have a starting point where you can start off with, I'll load that there so you can start with that. If there's something adjacent to this that I talked about, or you want some clarification on some parts, please let me know. And I might just turn that into our next video as well. So with that, thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.